Hey, how's it going? My name's Grant,
Shelby.
and today, with the Garden of Eater, and today we're talking about Neocaridina shrimp, a little bit of a refresher course. We haven't talked about it since about this time last year. I know we dabble in about it every live stream, just about, but I'm basically going to give you a rundown on Neocaridina. We just did a talk this past weekend for the Space Coast Aquarium Society, and I basically ran through Neocaridina in like 15, 20 minutes. And then the rest of the talk was about Caridina and then like a little combination of the two on what kind of requirements they both need. But this is going to dive into a little bit everything and get a little bit more detailed. So even if you were for my presentation on Saturday, this is even a deeper dive. So here we go. First off, this is a little bit different than normal. I want to start with the different types of Neocaridina and how easy or how hard they are to produce. Right off the ripper, you've got the red cherry shrimp. These are the same as fire reds, the same as sakura red cherries, the same as the painted fire reds. It's just all of the grades that they have to do with one another. Red cherries are going to have a lot of red to them, but technically speaking, they're all going to be red cherries. So when you talk about a low grade red cherry that doesn't have one of the other stamps to their name title, then you've just basically got a pretty clear shrimp with some red striping to it. When you get to the Sakura grading, that's 50% of the pigment is showing red, covering the shrimp. And then, you can have more than 50%, of course, and that's still a Sakura grade. So after Sakura, you have fire, and that's pretty much like 80% all the way head to tail. Not a lot of gaps that you can really see. But when you get onto a close-up shot with the macro lens and photography, you can see the little gaps in the pigments. So a painted fire red cherry shrimp, though, that is going to be head to toe pretty thick and solid. And it actually looks like somebody took a paintbrush and coated the shrimp with a little bit of thicker pigment. So basically, the higher the grade, the painted ones are worth a little bit more. The fire reds, though, usually you don't get painted males. So a lot of the fire red males are the ones you're going to want to keep for breeding. But fire reds as juveniles, they'll all be fire reds. And then most of the males will grow up and be painted. So most of the females will be. I don't know if I said that right. So moving on to like yellows, they're a very true breeding shrimp. Majority of the shrimp in the United States are the 24 karat line. These are just simply the ones that have the back line. There is a few people that are working on the yellows that do not have the back line. It'd be cool if we could get our hands on some of those later on this year. I think LJ Shrimp has a line of those going, and we are on the wait list for that. So, um, the yellows, though, they're a pretty true breeding shrimp, very easy to take care of. Unlike the oranges throw a lot of culls. You'll get rillies, you'll get an off-tone green or clear colored shrimp. So if you kind of like both of those colors and you had to choose between one or the other, I highly recommend the yellows over the oranges, just simply because they're easy to work with. They don't throw as many ugly ones or culls. I'm going to be saying culls a lot. If you don't know what a cull is, that's just basically an unwanted shrimp out of that colony. So it could have the wrong pattern, the wrong color, or there are deformities in the shrimp like balloon head, hunchback, short skirt, that you'd also want to remove those shrimp as well. How's it going, Scotty?
Hey, Scotty, your package went out today. I'll send the tracking if you didn't receive it through PayPal. So I just learned from Laura, LJ Shrimp, that snowballs are not the usual Neo Davy dye, and they are a different species. Please tell me about them since I just bought them from you.
Yeah, they're Neocaridina palmata, I believe, but they can still crossbreed with one another. It's just basically palmata is the more clear Neocaridina. They don't have any real striping, speckling, spotting. They don't really get thick in coloration. Very similar to like a blue pearl. Not like the blue jelly or blue velvet. This is a different type, not a Davii. It is the Palmata Neocaridina wild type. So not much difference. Basically, we're covering Snowballs right now. Snowball is a Palmata Neocaridina. Head to toe, it's pretty clear. Not a lot of action going on with those shrimp, but they get their name because when the females get pregnant, the eggs actually are white and they look like little snowballs. So there's the name right there. Just as easy to keep as the rest of them, and they breed fairly true. Just make sure you don't crossbreed because they'll throw wilds. There was a rumor going around back when we first got into the shrimp that the Palmata and the Davii won't crossbreed, so you could keep them together. But like everyone was still getting wild, so yeah, still to this day, I don't recommend crossing different types of shrimp.
And then Lando, member for 2 months. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
And
So
one more question. JK says, are you guys 100% homebred, including fish and plants? First time customer here. I'm interested, but not sure if I want to purchase some of the fish available on the site.
So the only thing that's not 100% homebred would be the plants. We do get plants from a nursery here in Florida, and then we hold on to them for quite some time. We haven't ordered plants from any nursery since October, I'm sorry. So a lot of the plants, though, we've had before that, and we don't offer them on the website unless, they're good quality, algae free, and stuff like that. So all the fish, all the shrimp, though, we're 100% homebred here in Florida.
Back to you.
All right. Then we had the blues. We did a good video on the difference between blue dreams and blue diamonds. It also mentions that the blue dreams come from blue velvets. So blue velvets or blue jellies should be solid, like sky blue. There should be no dark colorations or patterns to them at all. If there is, I really consider those to be blue dream culls and not true blue velvets. And then you have the possibility of having blue rillies, red rillies, orange rillies. The rilly pattern is just a clear body, and then there's color on the head and tail. And then, of course, we have chocolates, and high-grade chocolate could be an onyx. That's just a painted chocolate, basically. But from chocolates, you get black rose, also Bloody Marys, blue diamonds, and the carbon rillies. So basically, life is like a box of chocolates. There's a Forrest Gump quote for you, and it's no different with the Neocaridina shrimp. They breed all different colors out of those. And then you got the greens, you got green jade and green emerald. We also have a video on the difference between those two, but the emeralds are a little bit higher grade, in my opinion, produce less culls, easier to work with, and they do hold a little bit higher price because of that. The emeralds, the yellow 24 carats, the painted red cherries, and the red rilly with the blue body is what made it onto the website. Is that what it is? I don't know what the fourth one was. I don't think it was red rilly, blue body. I can't remember. You got both phones. No, maybe it was green emerald. I can't remember now.
So I know a lot of people are going to ask you this throughout the night, so you might as well answer it now. There's already 2 comments about it. Mikey's Fish Tank said, what do you think about Chris Lukop showing those bi and tricolor? So far, I think they're more culls than a line. So if you haven't seen, it was like an orange shrimp with red, and they're called like Sunburst Neos. Sorry, my phone's going to keep unplugging and plug back in. So what is your...
All right, so to answer my question earlier, we have the... it was a red rilly cull that ended up being solid blue. So it was a blue velvet or a blue jelly, but that's my best example of it. And then if you were on Chris Lukop's photo that he posted on the Aquarium Co-op group, you would see that we are also working on those. Very, very similar. I also have the other colorway where it's like maroon on orange, and it's not real splotches. It's more like a blend. And because those two are in the same tank that we're working on, and it was the same pictures that he posted, I didn't get around to watching the video that he posted, but based off of the photos and everything, I'd say they're the same shrimp that we're working with. And we have the green emerald culls, which come out of orange, and then cross those with one another, and you get some really nice orange looking shrimp. But out of those, we have gotten the red and orange sunburst or koi, whatever they're going to call it. We've had these for not a year, but a good time, and we just don't have enough to like mass produce and start selling them or name them.
Mm-hmm.
I also didn't think like they were done. Like I would have liked to like work on them, refine them a little bit more before I'd say like, oh, these are out there. But maybe these are just the culls from the farm, and eventually we're gonna have some really cool, like detailed patterns from the multi-colors of Neocaridina shrimp. But basically, that's all I got for you.
Yeah, and then Coral said his question whether it's consistent or not. I don't even think people can really get green emeralds to be really consistent. So it's still like, I mean, they're green, but
I don't
not,
even
like,
think
high quality.
I don't even think Chris knows the answer to that question.
Well, yeah, because he's not breeding them. So
he just now got them at his store that he has in Germany. They're a wholesaler and they ship out all over the world. They're not breeding them himself. So what is this that keeps popping up?
My phone's plugged in.
Okay, well,
it's driving me crazy.
Yeah. Why don't you just plug it in up there, or is it not long enough? All right. So with the Neocaridina, crossing the different colorations and stuff like that, usually 99% of the time ends up with the wild type Neocaridina pattern. It's clear, stripy, has some blotches to it, but they're not solid colors. They're not desirable at all. So when you cross a $4 to $6 shrimp with another different color, $4 to $6 shrimp, you're ending up with basically 50 cents to $1.50, depending on where you live and the demand and stuff like that. But they're less desirable. They're super hardy, and not only that, they're a dominant trait. So I watched Nick Mann's video not long ago where he stuck 4 different tanks with multicolored shrimp. He did like yellows and reds together, blues and yellows, reds and yellows, and then I can't remember what the last one was, but right off the bat, you've got a mix of different babies that are some yellows and or whatever color shrimp that are in the tank, and then he's getting wilds. Well, they're not all just wild yet, but eventually what's going to happen is as the wild shrimp cross, all the babies or all the shrimp that cross with the wilds, all the babies end up coming out wilds. So the first couple of crosses in the first generations, he's just getting lucky that the same 2-color shrimp are crossing with one another. And then all of the other phenotypes that I've seen in those tanks were also possible culls depending on the genetics of the shrimp. And he mentions that all in those videos. But like, honestly, if you just take one male and one female and put them together, 99% of the time, if they're different colors, you're going to end up with wild type Neocaridina. I say 99% of the time because we have crossed blues and reds and ended up with rillies, but I've done it several times where it came out wilds, and then only a handful of times where it's come out giving us the red rillies, the purples, the colorations that we were actually looking out for. And then once we mentioned the purples, we kind of let the cat out of the bag. Got to explain that a little bit. It's not really a shrimp that's out on the market. There are people that post them, photos of them all the time, but never really colonies, never true breeding colonies, that's for sure. And a lot of times the purple shrimp are just really stressed out. They get them bright and early in the morning when they first turn on the lights, and some of the shrimp are just off colored for the first couple minutes, if not hour, that they wake up and get adjusted to the lights. Some of the other kind of crosses and stuff like that, the purple coloration is just so hard to pass on to the next shrimp. It's a thing in Caridina, but not yet in Neocaridina. And then, of course, we're missing pink. Unless you have a dead shrimp, there isn't really any pink Neocaridina. Where we have that with the red steels or the pink steels, if you want to call them that way. So We highly recommend keeping your Neocaridina shrimp separated, but if you only have one tank at the house or the office and you like the multiple colors and stuff like that, and you don't want to risk the tiger shrimp or some stardust or something like that, then yeah, go ahead and throw all the colors in there and maybe try and find somebody who has some fish that you could feed the wilds to. Or if you only have one shrimp tank but you have a couple fish tanks, then it's like free food. And that wild gene isn't just a dominant trait, but they do get bigger, they do breed a little bit quicker, and they are a little bit more resilient and hardy in the end. So, want to bring up that?
Mimic Nature, member from 5 months, thank you so much, says, I'm watching my F1 Orange Relay cross with Blue Dream grow out. About 2 weeks old now. They look like Blue Dream babies. Should I not see variants until F2?
No, you should see it pretty much right away. So I don't want to like judge how you put them together or whatever, but it's very very strict to be able to put one another together. Make sure the male and female are opposite colors and stuff. So if you just mix the two colorations together, maybe and had colonies of each, then maybe the blues are just breeding with the blues for the time being. But knowing you probably just did 1 and 1.
Back to you.
And a lot of the wild type shrimp as babies kind of look blue, and then as they grow up, you'll see them. They get stripier and blotchier and a lot less pigment coloration as they grow. All right. So that's pretty much all the types of Neocaridina, unless I forgot to mention one. But then parameters. The reason why these are the most common and easiest to take care of shrimp is because they can survive and withstand the widest range of parameters. Tangerine tigers are close, but they don't stand up to the temperatures like the Neocaridina do. So the very first and most important parameter for me, a lot of people will be like, oh, don't do this. But for me, it's a simple standard and adjustment. And this tool right here, which is a TDS pen or a total dissolve pen, will tell me very quickly a rough adjustment of what I need to know on what kind of minerals are in the water. So unusual, our tap water comes out at around 170 to 177 TDS. It's really never fluctuated more than that, at least as I've ever checked it. Now, your water treatment company could flush the pipes with chloramine or change up from chloramine to chlorine, or just simply because of, the weather, or there was a pipe break or something like that, you could end up with corrosion in the pipes and different water parameters. And a simple check with the TDS pen before you do water changes, and you'll notice a fluctuation with 10 to 40 TDS, and you might want to check or let the water sit out, or use a little bit more prime than extra if you have to do a water change if it's an emergency. If it's not an emergency, maybe wait a week and see if the levels go back down. If the levels haven't gone back down, then maybe they change the filters, they change the system altogether, and that's the new norm. But if the fluctuation was 40, I for sure would not be doing any water changes until the TDS kind of stabled out. And if you had to use RO water and mix it up yourself, and then there's no contaminants, no hard metals or anything that could get your shrimp sick. But this is going to also tell me an easy measurement when mixing minerals. Most of them are like 1 GH is going to give me 30 TDS. So I know if there's 150 TDS that there's 5 GH in the water. And once you figure that out with your measurements and your TDS pen, it's a quick, easy way to measure your GH without checking everything out. But that's only with the RO water method. Because your tap parameters and stuff like that can change on the fly. You got something else for me?
Coral asked, how long until purple neos, Grant? How long?
I wish I had an answer for that, but
Yeah. It's one of those things that's very hard to get and very hard to achieve. We've had a few that come out. I even had one in my fire red cherry tank. They're just super unstable, and a lot of times they really don't gain that purple till they're older. Um, so it wouldn't be like, I don't know if anyone's gonna be able to achieve it. Really, we hope so. Even if we could
I
get
think it's
reds that have
possible.
like deeper, like that, almost like the sunburst where it's orange with the layering of the red. If we could get the fire reds to have the layering of the blue to make it achieve like look like a purple type of shrimp, which is kind of what has come out already. It's just really hard. It's not something that's going to be super easy. It could take years.
yeah, or just the right mutation, and then it's out
Yeah.
there, and everybody has it in a couple of years. So,
Hold on. Nancy B, member for 4 months. Thank you so much. Purple hearts.
so since I talked about TDS, it's only right that the next one would be GH. And if you ask a lot of the professionals or a lot of the hobbyists, GH is the most important one. But because I know my GH to TDS and I'm a seasoned water keeper, not shrimp keeper, water keeper, I know how much TDS per GH ratio that I'm going to be getting. But before I could do that, I had to be comfortable and stopped asking Shelby to check the GH of the water all the time, and I'm just able to run through the TDS pen. So for GH of the shrimp in general, all shrimp need like 4 GH at least. I find that the Neocaridina do a little bit better at a GH of 7 or higher, and higher really sky's the limit. We are about to enter tanks in the Florida State Fair, and I will try and get a TDS measurement when we're there. But last time we checked, it was over 700. So our house being 170, we bring the shrimp from here, there, and pretty much just plop and drop them when we get to the Florida State Fair. Maybe a little bit of swishing of the water with a cup or something like that to get them adjusted for a quick hot minute. But for the most part, all of the shrimp come home pregnant that are only there for like 2 to 3 weeks. We bring in juveniles and any of them that are mature enough. And the reason why we bring juveniles is, one, it helps with the kind of dimensions of the aquascape. With the smaller shrimp, makes the tank look a little bit bigger. And then the other one is they do adjust and they just survive. You don't want to have a tank at the fair where you bring a bunch of Caridina shrimp, you use their water, and everybody's like, why does this one smell like the docks, you know? So you definitely want to make sure you enter your juveniles because they're still made out of magic and rubber. When you buy shrimp, you want to buy juveniles. We actually did a trade just today where we sent out some shrimp. The guy wanted orange-eyed yellow King Kongs, and I was like, hey, dude, they're not ready for me to like post them available. And he was like, dude, the smaller the better, honestly, as long as they're not like freshly born, hatched that week. Send them on over. So they're about a month to 2 months old. And yeah, he's going to be just as happy with those as he would be with any other size shrimp, if not happier, because they just adjust, they adapt. And once they adapt, and because they can adapt faster, they just take off quicker. So once they're ready to start having babies, they just do better than the shrimp that are traveling that are ready to go already. So highly recommend, the smaller the shrimp, the better. And if you are buying shrimp, put in the notes, hey, I'd like these, a little bit on the smaller side, and try that out. And I think you'd be a little bit happier with the results in the long run.
Benjamin Peters said, have you derived a green, really yellow body yet?
Not yellow body, but we're working on a blue body. Welcome, Jeff.
Stephen P says, of the two, which Neo requires more culling, orange or yellow?
Well, Stephen, if you were here in the beginning of this stream, that was the second coloration combo we talked about. And I said yellow for sure is easier to take care of because they produce almost no culls, where oranges throw a lot of culls. So the oranges require more culling.
The culls are fun to the orange, though. for sure.
Now, what would GH be without the KH? GH is general hardness, KH is carbonate hardness, and KH is basically going to be your pH neutralizer. If you have soft water, a lot of botanicals, a lot of broken down driftwood, or say some type of aqua soil as your substrate, well, if your KH is high enough, it will neutralize all of that. Generally, 3 to 5 kH is more than enough to neutralize just about any type of aqua soil method, and you'll have 7 pH instead of a low 6. So that's why with dealing with Caridina, use RO water, GH only minerals. But with Neocaridina, we don't really have a lot of buffering options that we want to use in our tanks. So the KH is our buffering capability right there. It neutralizes the inert substrates. They're cheaper, they're easier to find and get your hands on. So for that purpose, a lot more people are using it. And KH is in a lot of the water that is readily available on tap already. So for the most part, you don't have to add in any. It's already there coming out of the tap. There are some people up north that have severely soft water and 0 KH, and you guys are lucky, like really lucky.
C10, unrelated question. I bought some Caridina shrimp, and after 2-day transit, 90% were alive, but when I checked the TDS in the bag, they ranged from 60 to 80. How long would you acclimate them?
I don't like to acclimate shrimp for no longer than 2 hours. An hour is probably enough for me, honestly, but if you're not comfortable with that, I would do 2 hours. I don't like to go over 2 hours because there's no buffering substrate or anything in the container. So you're going to end up with some pH swings if there's a light on and stuff like that. So I prefer topping out at 2. All right. Now, what would KH be without pH? pH, I do not try to chase the pH at all with Neocaridina. I just basically set up the tanks. If you're doing the aqua soil because you want, nice plants and stuff like that, then using CO2 or something like that to try and stable out your pH, that's on you to try and figure out. I highly recommend, just using inert substrate with some KH. If you do use the aqua soil, you're going to have to crank up that KH to kind of neutralize off that pH. And for that, you're going to have to, use enough KH that it's going to exhaust and you turn your aqua soil into mud. So it's not really a good combination. I don't recommend it too much, but if you have to have those nice plants, I understand the aqua soil is great for that. Capping it off with a little bit of sand or something like that might be the way for you to go. Just make sure that you don't, mess around with the substrate. I see Foxy there. Did you see the email to do Foxy?
I'm going to be honest. The kids have been sick. I have not looked at emails for days.
It's my fault. I read the email and I didn't say anything. You were sleeping in, and it's with her and DB one night. So I'm sorry,
I'm more
Foxy.
than down for it if we have
that's my
time.
fault.
We have the Florida. Is it this week?
I don't know when it is.
Okay.
I honestly read it when I was like half asleep, and I think I went back to sleep. I just forgot to tell you about it. I'm sorry. I see her now, so I'm mentioning it. There's an email.
Okay.
All right. So pH, like I said, I'd like it to be around neutral, 7 to 7.4. They do all right in the soil assay tanks as well, where it's 8 to 8.4 pH. So really, sky's the limit with these guys. I just want nice and stable, consistent pH. And as long as your tank is able to do that, check the pH in the morning, check the pH at night right before you turn off the tanks. And as long as they're pretty close within like a 0.2 of one another, then that's going to be good enough, and you'll have, good enough baby survival rate with them as well.
So Tube Dog, member for 9 months, thank you so much. Says, how's the 3D prints doing? Shall we 2.5 months to 1 year? they are doing great. There's nothing wrong with them. They're still holding strong, not withering away or anything. So
I
doing
haven't
really
touched
good.
them and given them a
Yeah.
little squeeze.
But they're in with
Yeah,
the crayfish,
so-
so like he hasn't destroyed them. So, and then they all want you to start over. So let's start from the top. That's good. I'm just kidding. They were joking and asked you to start all the way over, and then they realized that unless I tell you, they were like, "Oh, Grant's just ignoring our request to start over." And then someone was like, "No, it's Shelby if she doesn't say it," and I was like, "No, no, no. Let's blame Grant."
I know there's a bunch of parameters to check if your water's dirty, ammonia, nits, and stuff like that. Those should all be 0. Shrimp's bioload is low enough that with a half-cycled aquarium, it should be able to handle it. So I try to get those as low to 0 as possible. There's things like floaters and water changes that can help you bring those things down. So as close to 0 as you possibly can. But temperature, I also don't worry about, but I do not recommend you keeping a heater in your aquarium. Heaters are just prone to fail. A lot of people recommend, replacing your heaters every year. It can be expensive. It also takes up costs of electricity throughout the year. So just not having the heater in the tank, it avoids the risk of it overheating or failing and the tank crashing because it got from hot to cold or something like that too fast. So as long as it's room temperature and the house is slowly, gradually building up or maintaining the same temperature all year round, the Neocaridina will be fine. We keep ours outside, and I know Matt's like cold in Florida, haha. Well, it's like our cold 2 days. So today was kind of cold. Tomorrow will be a little bit colder. The shrimp will get down into the 40s. But they'll be just fine, if not into the high 30s. So really nothing to worry about with it getting cold. And then on the other end, some of our black barrels will get up into the 90s, low 90s. So no issues with the Neocaridina on temperatures. They're little tanks. I've seen videos of red cherry shrimp climbing on the bottom of ice, floating on the surface. So these guys are more hardy, more resilient than you'd think, and give them a lot more credit to. A lot of the issues when people have problems with these stem from the fact that they got them through a source which were imported. Most likely, if the shrimp was full size, around an inch, then those were imported from overseas, shipped from one farm to another distributor to a wholesaler overseas here, and by the time they made it into your tanks, they've changed water parameters 5 times. They're stressed out. They're full grown. Who knows if they're full age or have, 2 years left on their clock. They're also a creature that when it's warmer out, they will grow up faster. They'll breed quicker, but they also live shorter lives. So in a cooler environment, they take a little bit more time to grow up. They don't breed quite as fast, but they do live a couple more years because of the cooler climate. Also, the cooler temperatures help them with anti-fungus and antibacterial problems that might arise in your aquarium. So it's just like that hospital effect. The hospitals keep it nice and cold. If you keep your tanks around 70, 72, this is more than enough for them to be warm and breed, but also on the colder side to avoid those bacterial fungal issues.
Whip said, "Do you guys sell any colds for people experimenting on whatever they can keep shrimp in their water without spending big money, or is it smarter to just buy ghost shrimp?"
Definitely don't buy ghost shrimp. If you're experimenting with your water and trying to figure it out, we can't keep ghost shrimp in certain aquariums just because of the same fact that I just said with all the Neocaridina being imported. All ghost shrimp are wild caught, and they go from one little brackish estuary where they just go along the sides of seawalls and they catch thousands of these things. Like we go down to the Keys and the Everglades, and they're all on the banks of the walls. They're easy to grab. And from there, they go to another wholesaler distributor. Maybe they're sent from a different country over here, and then they get shipped out to the box stores. And if you've seen them in like Petco or Pet Supermarket, they're usually lined with dead bodies, or they're keeping them with a fish or the ghost shrimp at Petco and stuff like that.
Home.
No, no. But yeah, they're usually kept with like crawfish or something like that. That's going to pick off the ones that were unfortunate enough. So by the time they make it to your aquariums, they're supposed to be feeders. Like they're not expecting these shrimp to live in your aquarium. So these guys don't do well and don't breed like the Neocaridina. That's why they're catching them out of the wild. So
I've also been trying to convince people that breed cichlids and bigger cichlids that this would be a good source of food for your cichlids. I know it sounds terrible, but like people feed ghost shrimp, feeder goldfish. Like these are literally snacks for turtles, for cichlids and things like that. So like your terrible coals or whatever, and like you just breed them or wilds and you want to start with projects, the wilds could be food for your turtles or your cichlids. And especially in competition wise, like I know Scuba Steve entered competition. I've tried to convince him, feed those red cherries. I'm telling you that red's going to color up that fish so much and he ain't going to lose.
And it doesn't matter what kind of shrimp a flamingo or a spoonbill eats, all of the shrimp, when they die, they turn pink, and that's what turns the flamingos pink. So I would safe to say that it's going to help with some type of pigmentation to some of the fish. We also do sell coals though. So if you're worried about, dipping your toes in, you can spend less money and get some coals. My reasoning for not buying coals though, if you want to start breeding, is because with Neocaridina, most of the males are ugly. They just are. Out of all the females, you don't get a lot of coals. So when it comes to males, you want way more females than you want males, so more males get culled anyway. But then a lot of the lower pigmentation ended up being males anyway. So you're going to be culling majority males, and then you're going to have too many males when you buy culls to start breeding, because they're going to stress out the females, and the females are going to be pissed because it's ugly males. You know what I mean? So you just start with what color you really like and get them from a good source. I can't tell you how important it is to get your shrimp from a home breeder. And I'm going to tell you right now, if they're bigger than us, they're not breeding them. They're not going to be out there doing the work to try and get the numbers to sell like what we are. And out here in Florida, there's very few farms that are able to produce any numbers of shrimp that don't have the parasites or the fungus and issues like the imports have. So for our scale, we're really proud to not have any parasites or any type of fungus issues when we sell our shrimp. So we are really taking things slow on expanding, but finding shrimp from your neighbor or a local club member that has the exact same water parameters as you is going to be your best bet if you want to try out and get your shrimp game started.
Abstract said, "What do you?"
Dog.
No, I'm laughing. Boots' comments about that's why nursing homes are cold, keeps them fresh longer. It killed me. Abstract said, when do you think that? What do you think of heat mats, like the type they use in reptiles?
Again, they're not needed for the shrimp.
Do they make aquarium heat mats?
I don't
because
know.
I know the ones that they have with the reptiles. It specifically says you cannot put them under tanks with water because it could crack, because it's like a difference in temperature. So just crack the bottom of the tank. I don't know. Some people have tried it, and I think some people have it successful. They might be like specific aquarium ones, but don't use the reptile ones.
All right, Jenna, I see what games you want to play.
Gotta start all over.
I got this.
Yellow.
3 can play at that game.
Oh, I guess I already know you answered it. I love how it's like all the way down.
All right, so that's all the parameters, everything out of the way. Then we have tank size. I recommend no smaller than 10 gallons. Smaller than 10 gallons, and I do see size reduced overall. They take longer to grow up, and overall breeding is reduced. So if your goal is breeding at least 10 gallons, any bigger than 10 gallons, of course, is going to be better because it's easier to keep water parameters consistent. I'm telling everybody right now, do not chase your water parameters. If you are having to mix 15 different things to try and do your water changes every single time, you're going to be miserable keeping shrimp. Try and figure out your tap water, see if it's good enough, and all you have to do is a little bit of prime, take out that chlorine or chloramine, whatever one you have, and your shrimp should have enough minerals in the water. If not, you should be able to add in some salty shrimp to make that happen, but you want to keep things exactly the same, consistent. Don't change things up. If you have a shrimp get pregnant and you're doing water changes every week, continue to do your water changes every week. And then when there's babies, still do your water changes every week. Anything for me?
Coro said, what colors have you got Malawa shrimp in?
I hope Alex isn't listening, but they come in all these different colors, and they flip flop, and it's nothing special. They're like a wild type Neocaridina. You'll get blues, you'll get metallic, you'll get purplish, you'll get brown, you'll get clear,
like the
you'll get
ones.
yeah.
Like they have a gold backline.
They're like a chocolate box too. You
So
never know
weird.
what you're gonna get, and yeah. So sorry, Alex.
And then Whip said, gotcha, bought 10 Neos and they didn't make it a day. So I emptied the tank and filled it with RO water. These are going to be bred for food.
If they died in a day, it was your fault. If none of them were dead in the bag when you got them, that's generally speaking the rule. If none of the shrimp died in transit, there's no way that like the next day it was all of their time to die. Something was wrong with the water. And yeah, you definitely don't want to use straight RO water though. Get yourself one of these and find yourself some salty shrimp mix. We do carry it on the website. You'd want the salty shrimp GHKH plus, and I recommend mixing that water up to 220 TDS. So also, I don't recommend bare bottom. So we'll talk about that here in a second. Was it bare bottom?
I don't know.
Just empty the
empty
tank.
doesn't mean it's
And all you filled it with was RO water. So I'm assuming it was empty. That's on me, though. Back
to you.
All right. So filters, we use these run-of-the-mill, suction cup, dual sponge filters. They're cheap. They're under $4, and they work. You can use a hang on the back canister, under gravel filter, really whatever you want. But if the intake is big, I'm dying. Take over.
If the intake is big, you want to put a cover over it? What are you talking about?
Yeah, a cover.
Okay.
A guard, so that way the babies don't get sucked up and go into the filtration. So we recommend like a sponge, or there are stainless steel filter guards. Just make sure that they're a quality stainless steel that aren't going to rust before you buy them.
Yeah. Did you say a sponge too? Use those?
Yeah, I said that.
Yeah, they just clog up too fast, so that's why we like the stainless steel mesh. Much easier to clean than a sponge.
All of the liquid in my mouth just disappeared. My
Carrie.
nose is starting to run. I'm losing it.
Carrie said, Grant and Shelby had a random chocolate with a cream backline, which I absolutely love, pop out of my yellow colony, which is strange. She had babies and that look exactly the same. Would I be onto something to isolate the phenotype?
Yes, send me pictures. And maybe it's like something special and it should be worked on.
Mm-hmm. Also could be a wild.
It sounds too good to be true, and sometimes it is too good to be true. So that's why I want to see a picture. But
I'm obsessed with wilds with the backlines. They look they are like a chocolate, and then they have the cream backline, and it's just superb. That's why I have my Fontaine.
There are people that are obsessed with wilds, and it's kind of one of those shrimp where you really wouldn't think of it too much, but there's people that just hate the morphs. and they just want some wild type shrimp. So
Yeah, I think it's fun for like big planet tanks to have the wild type shrimp. You just kind of see like it looks more natural than a bright red shrimp or a bright yellow. But it's just everybody has a different cup of tea.
but for filtration though, they're such a low bio load. They don't need a high flow. They don't need anything crazy. A good little air pump with a sponge filter, and you are set. These guys are going to be kicking like crazy. Not kicking, breeding.
Coro said, "What flavor of ice cream best exemplifies Neocaridina shrimp?"
Probably like vanilla. It's like the base. It's the standard.
Mario said, "What's the difference between RO and RODI? Would you treat it any differently?"
Or Neapolitan. That would describe Neocaridina. I'm sorry, Mario. I didn't mean to, but it dawned on me. I had to do it.
You need me to repeat the question?
Yeah, but I don't know how to answer it, so I'm kind of deflecting it. I'm not the person to answer this. I know the DI is like an extra stage that will take out even more finer particles and particulates, but like it does something else too. It like takes out the ions
so
or
Coro
something
answered
else.
it. Says RODI is cleaner than RO. It has less minerals in it, but both are very, very pure. RODI is so clean it will pull salts out of your body and the fish, shrimp, and needs remineralizing, which makes sense because you can't have like in a panic you couldn't have RODI water. Like it would literally make you sick and you could die from it.
You still don't want to drink RO water though either.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. I'm glad I was right, but yeah, I'm just not comfortable with talking about some of the stuff because it's not stuff I really cared about to like dive into. I just know it or I don't. So Substrate, the Neocaridinas, they're not like cuttlefish where their camouflage is like the best, where they can really blend in with their environment and change, textures and stuff like that. But they do try to do their best. Greens are the worst at this. I can take some of the nicest green jades and throw them in a cup, and 10 minutes go by, and all of the greens has lost color, and they're kind of looking stripy, like wild type Neocaridina, and they don't look good on white substrate. Definitely don't look good on a clear bottom. But if you throw them on black, they're trying to match black, and they can't do that. So what they end up doing is they go the deepest, darker coloration that they can go. This is the true for all Neocaridina. Snowballs aren't going to get any darker. I'll be honest there. But all the other shrimp will look better on black. It's hard to see blacks and blues on black substrate. I know that's why we recommend the Samurai soil. If you saw the pictures in the thumbnail, those are the Samurai substrates that we like to use. It's really easy for the emeralds and the black rose to pop. The blues, you can get away with actually throwing those, the blue dreams and the blue diamonds, on white substrate, and majority of them will just continue to look like they're in their navy blue dress. But any other color on white substrate just bleaches out. Doesn't look very good. Black rose is the one of the bad ones too. We thought we had a ton of black rose culls because we had them out in the IBC totes without any substrate. And then we threw in some Brightwell substrate. I know that was crazy. That was like one of the craziest things we did. That was back when we thought we had an endless supply of substrates. And we were throwing it in the Neocaridina tubs just for color and the extra benefit that some of the plants would get. Little did we know Cladophora would ruin those hopes and dreams. But they colored up like almost immediately, where the ones I thought were for sure like wild clear culls for sure were solid black. And it was one of the nicest comebacks I think we've ever had from just adding some substrate and some tanks.
See, I don't remember that being black rose. I remember that we had greens for a long time that I was selling green culls.
No, it was the
and
black
then
rose.
I brought
IBC
them inside.
Tote. It was 100% the black rose IBC tote. I'll take that story to my grave, Shelby.
Yeah, well, we had greens where the turtles were, and I was selling culls for a very long time. Then we brought them inside, and they weren't culls.
Well,
and people kept sending us pictures of their non-coal.
That's because they look better inside than they did outside.
In
But
a
some
white
of them look
tub.
better outside than inside. It was a weird story.
Abstract said, "Are orange Neos with backline a thing? I have a few. Should I work on the line?"
They're not really a thing, but they could be. They should be, and yeah, you should work on it. There's like some orange Neos that you get from Indonesia, and they come with like what looks like a backline on them. But as you breed them out, the backline goes away. So that's why I said it's not really a thing, but it isn't if you go to Indonesia. It's weird. There's something in their water that creates that coloration on top of the shrimp. And even after a couple water changes, I've seen that coloration fade on those same exact shrimp. It's like the sun-kissed, sunburst Neocaridina that come around, not the ones that Chris just posted.
Heather said, "My wilds might have to live with my pea puffers, mollies, and 2 other tanks. Your wilds would be definitely food. Those pea puffers will love it. I know, had them, they ate them."
Our pea puffers didn't eat the adults.
Yeah, well,
so they definitely ate the babies, but not the adults. And I think they would eat
will definitely eat them.
Yeah, the mollies done for it. But the pea puffers, that you can keep adult Neocaridina with
They'll
them.
be happy.
Back to me?
Yes.
All right. Then we have hardscape. With Neocaridina, you don't really have to worry about anything, leaching into the water and messing with the pH or anything like that. So whatever wood, whatever hardscape you can throw into the tank is just going to be more surface area for biofilm to grow on. In nature, the shrimp aren't being fed pellets and food and stuff like that. They're grazing on rocks and wood and roots and leaves and stuff like that are producing the biofilm in the rivers, and that is their diet. Should be 60% of their diet going on. And you add more hardscape, more wood. I don't recommend grapevine or this real soft woods because they just break down in the tank. No cholla cactus wood just breaks down to mulm and creates a mess. But spiderwood, Malaysian, manzanita, those are all great choices. Lots of little nooks and crannies throughout those for the shrimp to graze on. Little microorganisms to breed and colonize in that as well. Dragonstone, Sears stone, mountain stone, sandstones. These are all great to build up little tiny rock mounds and stuff. The LRB method, where he throws rock piles for the Neocaridina, nurseries for the females to lay their babies and hatch out and raise their young. To each their own. We don't really do too much of that, but we do have our own nurseries in the sense of mosses and plants and stuff like that. The moss, the plants, everything like that, it's all just added surface area for more biofilm to grow on as well. So we highly recommend that. Just don't touch with the substrate and mess around with that too much. So the moss is great because it doesn't send in roots, and it's easy to pull it out when it overgrows. It's still pulling out all those nits as it grows, and you can throw it away without disrupting the substrate. Just give it that good old shake and bake, Ricky Bobby style, and make sure none of the babies go in the trash when you take out the moss. So plants, hardscape, highly recommended for the biofilm feature. And then, when you jump into foods, I talked about, 60% of their food should be the biofilm. And then out in nature, they're not getting commercial foods, but what they're ended up getting is bugs and, leaves I mentioned already, but other little tiny things are falling into the stream. If they get lucky, they'll get a fish or something else like that. But most of the time, the bigger predators are end up getting the better stuff. So when we're feeding the shrimp, we're really just supplementing that other little tiny bits and pieces that, like, you'll be surprised, even with the ponds covered, how many beetle shells I'll find in the ponds. And the shell of the beetle is probably made up of a lot of chitins, same as the shells of the shrimp. So that is all going to be great food for the shrimp as it falls into the river. So when we're feeding, we're just supplementing that. There's a variety of good brands of shrimp food out on the market. We love and recommend the Shrimp Envy brand. And then besides that, we use some Glass Garden products as well. But we just recommend a good variety, a good diet, so that way the shrimp aren't eating the same thing. you wouldn't want to eat steak every single day of your life. I know some of you are like, oh, I could. You don't know me. But you'd eventually want to mix it up and have some elk or some lamb or, a good beer can chicken or something like that eventually. So you definitely want to mix up the diet for the shrimp, keep them interested, keep them having, good appetite, having some fun. Maybe it'll cause them to breed a little bit more as well. So, um, definitely want to try and mix up the foods as much as you can. We have like 7 different foods we feed every other day. So every 2 weeks, we cycle through our food. You got something for me?
Yeah. Joe said, would the coals in a coal tank give every once in a while? Sorry, I'm reading this all wrong. Would the coals in a coal tank give every once in a while shrimp with a nice color, or just stay wild? It depends if you have just wilds. Usually they just throw wilds, but if you have a coal tank from like reds, you could get nicer ones out of that. You could get, and if you have a mix of different colors, sometimes they'll still throw good colors. But yes, they all kind of just go wild. And then what will happen is instead of like the clear with the brown stripes, they'll start to solid up and be black or brown, like dark brown with like back stripes. That's why I like keeping the wilds all together and just keep them going crazy. But yeah, you'll once in a while get it, and you could breed it potentially the other way, but like it would take a long time for you to get good ones out of it.
Oh, thank you for answering that. My nose is going. All right, so then we have algae. Reason why I didn't say algae as a food source or talk about that is because the shrimp don't eat algae if it's thriving and growing. At that point, hair algae is going to be the best example. If it's just a tangled up mess in your tank and the shrimp try to swim through that, they get caught up and tangled up in that, they're basically going to die of starvation because they cannot eat that hair algae. Now, if you remove hair algae from one tank where it's thriving in and throwing it into a tank where it's not, and all of the shrimp are just eating it, and you're like, oh, well, it's because we have shrimp in this tank. Well, no, that tank is just probably cultured and colonized and taken care of in a way where the hair algae is not thriving, and it is thriving in your other aquarium. And when you throw it into the tank where it's not, it starts dying. And as it's dying, or the difference in parameters shocks it, and the shrimp are able to eat it because it's no longer thriving and it's breaking down. And the shrimp love stuff that's dying and breaking down, whether it's algae, plants, fish, other shrimp, snails, crushed snails. They'll eat it all.
Sam the Man, welcome in, says, does the CO2 injection increase the TDS? My best regards to Mr. and Mrs. Shrimp.
This isn't something that I can answer. I don't believe it increases the TDS, but I don't know. I've never used TDS myself, so I can't answer that, Sam the Man. I'm sorry.
He's never used CO2 himself. We don't use CO2 here, so maybe someone in the comment section who uses CO2 would maybe be able to help that. You said I don't use TDS.
Oh, did I?
Yeah. I'm trying to autocorrect you in person. And then Carrie said, Grant and Shelby have been breeding shrimp as a hobbyist for a good bit. Guys, still don't get what the difference between Blue Dream and Blue Diamond. I have a great colony of Blue Dreams.
We have a great video on the difference between Blue Dream and Blue Diamond. If you could go and check that out on our website, but basically, or on our YouTube. But basically, the difference is Blue Dreams come from blue velvets, Blue Diamonds come from chocolates, so the culls are different. It's all in the genetics. They can both look like the exact same shrimp, though.
Back to you.
All right. Then we have tank mates. As much flack as I give snails, as much as I just despise them, they're hideous little things, but they do a great job as tank mates with shrimp. There's not a lot of things you can keep with them, and because of that, you've got to go through and have your Malaysian trumpet snails sifting out your substrate, eating that unwanted, uneaten food, and taking care of any like pockets, air gases and stuff like that might have built up. For Neocaridina, you can do ram's horns, you can do rabbit snails, as long as they, you don't mind them eating some of your plants. Mystery snails. There's really a ton of snails that you can keep with Neocaridina, where their shells are going to do really well with the care for Neocaridina as well. So they don't eat the babies. Their slime trails might actually produce a little bit of food for the babies. And for that reason, they're the number one tank mates for shrimp. You could do crawfish, but I don't really like to keep crawfish with our shrimp, but there's shrimp in all of our crawfish tanks whenever we've kept them. And the shrimp have always bred and done really well with the crawfish. So I've actually seen crawfish have their pinchers out, the shrimp land in the middle, and then the crawfish try to snap, but the shrimp just scurried away as soon as the crawfish moved his hand. So
it's fun to watch. We've sat there watching for a while. It was the first time we put a crayfish with shrimp, and we were like, let's see. It's fun. So Benjamin said, can I use jasmine vine in an aquarium? If it's dried out, you can, but it will break down super fast and just become a problem.
No, don't do it, because it actually has the oh my god,
poison.
It's not poison, but it's got latex. It's got latex though, and the latex will actually break down into the aquarium and cause some issues. So you don't want to do that.
It's too much. Abstract, does anyone know if geode stones would be okay with neos? Have a crazy idea for escape and think it would be so cool to look at. Most geodes, yes. There is some that have like
copper veins.
Yeah, so I would just be careful. Like I know my quartz, perfectly fine. Now, just remember, if you put a geode or anything in a tank like that, especially like quartz, it'll start to break under pressure. I've had a couple different stones like that in tanks, and they do suck to clean when they get full of algae. So, but they will look cool for a little bit. But I have geodes too. That I think that's what that rock is. It has like geodes in it. All you need to do is test it. Is to pour vinegar on it. If it bubbles up, it's gonna
raise your TDS. Yeah. But with Neocaridina, you're not really worried about it.
It's not
so it could raise TDS and pH.
Yeah.
So back to tank mates.
Yeah. Living Dream Aquatics member for 12 months. Finally, woohoo! Thank you so much
for your support.
And says thank you all for your help, guys.
We should have those Sam scale prints. He also said that he sent a bunch of extra other prints that we could use for giveaways. Okay. So we'll have some more prints to give out. Also, if you're not a 12-month member. Back to me. All right, tank mates. So, no, you.
That's good.
Really, only other thing you can keep with them would be fish. Just remember, whatever can fit in a fish's mouth will be food. So the smaller the fish, the smaller the mouth. Obviously, the better, the less shrimp it's going to eat. Almost all shrimp are going to pick off some. All fish are going to pick off some of the shrimp babies, but there are several fish out there that you can keep with the shrimp that won't be able to eat the adults. CPDs, ember tetras, auto cats, pygmy quarries. Those are some of the more common ones. Panda loaches that people will keep with fish, shrimp. I'm sorry, and endlers are actually another good one.
Living Dream Aquatics said, I seem to be able to keep Caridina, but not Neos. I have lost all my green emeralds and blue diamonds. Do you think I can use RODI instead of tap water?
Yeah, absolutely. If you just buy the GHK minerals and mix your TDS up to about 220, that's how we used to use it for quite some time, just because we thought that was the optimal way. When we set up all the shrimp tubs outside, it was like do or die for those things. It was either they bred or they didn't, and I tried out something different. I wasn't fluctuating with the parameters or trying to do RO water out there. Lucky enough for us, they bred on our tap water, and we're able to keep them outside. Otherwise, they're just going to come back inside, and we were going to keep them in tanks the way we keep some of them, but we wouldn't be able to breed them at these numbers we are.
And Stephen P. said that pertaining to the question earlier on CO2 increasing the TDS, says it does not increase TDS, But if you have KH in your water, CO2 may even reduce TDS slightly when carbonic acid reacts with carbonate.
And then we got water changes. Highly recommend doing your water changes at least 10% every week. If you can't do them every week, do like 20 to 30% every other week. We personally do around 40% water changes every 2 weeks. We do a lot of traveling and stuff like that where we're not able to get to them as often as we'd like. And the shrimp do go, 4 to 5 weeks sometimes without getting water changes. And when we get back into it, we still just dive into a 40% water change. So the whole myth of shrimp don't like water changes and stuff like that is absolutely false. Shrimp don't like fluctuation in parameters. So if you're keeping a lid on the tank and there isn't any evaporation, you haven't been topping off with tap water and stacking minerals on top of minerals, because when water evaporates, H2O goes up and all the salts and everything else like that are left behind, and you're ending up with a TDS spike. So a lid on the tank, and you don't overfeed before you leave and stuff like that, and you're not ending up with any ammonia spikes, then mixing up your water with the same mineral content that's already in the water, matching up the temperatures and doing your water changes is not going to be any problem at all. We've had situations where we've done 99% water changes and haven't had any loss. So definitely want to make sure though that your numbers match up before you do the water change. You don't want to go from 1,000 TDS and do a 40% water change with 200 TDS water.
Tube Dog said, can Malaysian trumpet snails go in both Neo and Caridina tanks? Yes, we have them breeding in both tanks.
Yeah.
I would suggest for anything that you want to do with snails, just make sure that you feed them good and make sure that they have calcium in their diet to make sure those snail shells stay pretty good. You'll notice if they are not getting enough calcium, the tip of their snail shell will kind of look like it's eroding. Just make sure that you increase the calcium diet, that's what we use our mineral food for. And we've also used Crayfish Empire's calcium chips. We love those too. So those are really good for snails.
Yeah, allergies are kicking in. All right. Hit me.
Justin said, how's it going, guys? Welcome in. On the subject of I'm assuming Bacter AE, do you guys use it? What do you use to get your bacteria started in new and existing tanks? Some people feel that it puts off too much ammonia. So as far as us using it, we don't really use it. Didn't you use it when we first started?
We used to use it a lot, but the thing was, I didn't notice any difference in the aquariums from using it. And when we stopped using it, we still had the same amount of breeding, the same amount of baby survival rate, etc. I do like the product if you have to set up the aquarium and you don't have the whole 30 days to wait. Certain situations, people get out of the hobby, you're dumped with a whole new aquarium. And you got to set it up, quickly, or your tank broke or something like that, and you've got to set it up and get the biofilm going. So it definitely has its purposes if you need to coat your aquariums and stuff. I also want to do a video where we soak like a leaf or a piece of stone or something like that in water that's soaking with Bacter AE, and it colonizes a lot of biofilm, and then we put that in the aquarium. I think that's going to be a lot more beneficial as like a food source for your food. And a lot of people have an issue where they put too much of the Bacter AE into the aquariums, and because it's a biofilm colony builder, as that colony explodes, it's going to be absorbing a lot of oxygen, and it depletes that, and you have issues in your tank. So it's not something I really recommend. I'm dying here.
Yeah, that's fine. So I would say that I will do a test when my new fish room does get built. I will be doing a lot of testing on the Bacter AE with a tank in specific next to each other. Same parameters, same setup. I'm going to dose it when we start doing the cycling of the tank. And then I will be doing same exact feeding, everything. There's actually a list on Glass Garden's website on how to dose it properly. So I'm going to follow those for like a good few months to see if the breeding's going to improve, if it's going to change anything. And then I'm going to have the other tank next to it where we just normally cycle it the way we do, feed it. I'm going to feed them the same way if I'm just like feeding diet. So it'll be fun to see whether it really does help the babies or not, or whether it helps the tank. They do also like add like a whole list of everything you're supposed to dose in the tank, which would also include the beta-glucan that we sell. So I'm pretty interested in that as well. We've used it, we just haven't seen a difference, and
It's
we've
not
had
beta-glucan, it's
yeah.
shrimp fit.
Yeah,
They
which
changed
is okay. Sorry, it's shrimp fit, but it is a beta-glucan. So, Zen said the stuff like amethyst will also lose its color over time, but still pretty. Yes. Now there was another question here. Welcome in, George. Easy V Rider said, curious why you guys don't sell the same scale prints on the website. So the 12-month membership one is not ever going to be on the website. That's for our 12-month members on YouTube only. But we do have 2 prints on the website. It is under, I already forgot what I made.
It's under merch.
Merchandise.
I'm telling you, we need to move that.
So it's under merchandise with all the rest. But we have the, let me exit out, the Red Galaxy Pinto and the Lemon.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, it's really loud. I'm sorry. Yeah, both and Benny Tay's print should be on there. Well, I think we have 3 prints on there.
Yeah, we just got those not that long ago. I haven't had a chance to put them on the website, but we do sell them. I think a lot of people can't find that we have a merchandise part on our website, but it has like the leftover shirts we have.
Which are running out. We don't have all the sizes in stock still. And once they're gone, they're gone.
And the P&W tanks and then the prints as well. So a lot of it's just our random stuff that we'll be carrying. But welcome in Pumpkin Coffee.
I only got one more thing on the list. Oh, go ahead.
Easy V Rider said, would I still have to add calcium for the snails if I'm adding GHKH plus minerals? Yes, that's just water quality. You would have to supplement as feeding. They need to absorb that where they don't really absorb it from the water. So,
yeah, I've seen rabbit snails without the calcium chips, and after like 6 months or so, you just don't have like the good tips of the snail shells like fully nice and pointy with good quality. After like, I don't know, a year of us using the calcium chips from Grant, the other Grant number 2, as we discussed in the other stream with Stephen P. You definitely have to use those calcium chips with the rabbit snails, because once they get to like 3 inches, it's very rare to see a rabbit snail that's nice and pointy like what we've got in our tanks. Most of them look just melting at the tips.
yeah. And Two Dogs said, what's the website for the vector parameters? Oh, Glass Garden. So we have to look that up though. I never remember how to put that in. So I will get that up if you want to get back to your last thing.
All right. So the last thing is just reproduction. One of the things that got me so interested in keeping and breeding shrimp is I might have been young when I'm not young anymore, but when I first started keeping shrimp, I think we were only like 23 years old. And I wasn't very patient still. I knew we were breeding chameleons, and the reproduction rate of chameleons was just ridiculous. You get a pair of adults, you put them together for 3 days, and if you're lucky, the male tags the female, and then you wait 30 days for her to lay her eggs. And then once you get the eggs out, those eggs could take anywhere from 6 to 16 months to hatch. And 6 months is like super preemie, super rare. Like majority of the time, it's right around 12 months, but it could be 16 months that you're waiting for these eggs to hatch. And once the eggs hatch, you've got 2 months before you could sell any of them. But they're all going to look like ugly, like they're not going to look like what you want them. We were doing panther chameleons, by the way, and they're not very colorful at 2 months. But you wait for them to be a year, and then you know who's a stud and who's a dud. So you'd really have to go through and get lucky, pick a couple to breed out for the next generation. But that reproductive turnover and everything like that was potentially 3 years. And with shrimp, it's one male, one female, instant. Once they're together and he tags her, the eggs drop and she's holding them. She holds them for roughly 30 days. For Neocaridina, the warmer water, and they could hatch around 25 days. Colder water, and they can hatch up to 45 days. So generally average 30 days, you're going to have about 30 babies. And once those eggs hatch, the babies look like the adults right away. And as the babies start to grow, the pigments will mature. They'll look nicer as they age. And around 2 months old, you can start to see really what they're going to be like, if you should cull them or not. At 4 months old, the males can start breeding, and maybe a little bit sooner, maybe 3 to 4 months, the males can start breeding. And at 4 months to 6 months, the females will start breeding and be mature. So then the whole cycle starts all over again. What?
Are you talking about chameleons?
No, the shrimp now.
Oh.
We went from chameleons to shrimp. Why?
Someone commented, how do we get chameleons?
Oh.
Sorry. Is that it for you?
Yeah, that's it.
QJF won the swag pack a while ago. We don't have a shirt to include, so we're just going to throw in a Sam scale print.
Okay, that works out.
And I did include in the comments the link to the exact page. You can find the dosing of the Bacter and everything. You just scroll to the bottom of that link, and it has like a little chart at the bottom. And then I also did include Crayfish Empire's calcium chips. It looks like they do have them in stock, so I include that link as well. They are a lifesaver when it comes to shrimp. And I have not read anything. But yeah, we are getting shirts eventually, but we have to fix the logo and make it printable, and it just doesn't look good on a black t-shirt, so we have to fix that.
There's one big reason why we don't have t-shirts and we don't have a lot of stuff that we've talked about for the last 3 months, but we have good news. We finally have our insurance settled and taken care of. We didn't want to jinx it, but we did sign with another insurance company before the last live stream. I don't even know if I mentioned it. Maybe I did jinx it. But the insurance company accepted it today, or at least they sent the email to my mom and she forwarded it to us. So we no longer have to worry about moving all the tanks or, figuring out what to do with the house moving forward. I no longer have to fiddle with stuff in the back. We don't have to stress about there being too many tanks in the house. So now it's pretty much full go, 100% send on getting Shelby's fish room done. We've already got the notes, the schematics, the blueprints, everything all finished and ready to go. We just got to get the wood, put it together, and we need time to do that. So a couple things are happening right now. This weekend, we have the Florida State Fair Aquarium Beautiful contest. Shelby's entering 3 tanks. I'm entering 4 tanks. Both of our kids are entering an aquarium as well. So these next few days, I'll probably be in the garage just trying to figure out where everything is and moving around like 400 to 600 pounds worth of stone just to get to everything that we all have. So once the tanks are all done at the Florida State Fair, we have until Tuesday to finish all that up. But then the following week, we have Nick Mann from Fish Keeping Simple, all the way from Australia, coming to speak for the Pasco Club of Aquarium, the Aquarium Club of Pasco County. He's doing a presentation on going from a hobby to a business with fish keeping, and he's also coming to do a tour of the house. He's probably the biggest not by far. Primetime Aquatics has also been in the house to do a video, but not quite as big as Nick. And I would say Primetime is interested in shrimp. Jason and Joanne, they like their shrimps for sure. Shelby's got another shrimp Wrangler t-shirt and stuff like that.
Oh,
but
I should have wore that tonight.
I think Nick likes shrimp a little bit more.
I'm gonna wear that when Nick comes.
I think he's gonna geek out and he's gonna know more about the different varieties and stuff. Where Jason, he knew his Neocaridina, but when it came to everything, that was a weird noise.
It was.
When it comes to everything, I think Nick's really going to geek out. We're also going to do a trip with him over to LRB's house, and then coming back. And the following week, we'll have the live stream. He'll be on with me for that. So we're trying to get the house primed and looking as good as possible. And there's no way before Nick gets here we can set up a rack, set up the tanks, cycle them, and get fish in them. So for that reason, we're going to focus on making sure the fronts of the tanks don't have algae. Like, we've been doing really well. If you haven't noticed, these tanks have been looking, I mean, it looks like there's a lot of algae in there, but it's not.
Plants.
It's plants. It looks way better in person, I promise you. Yeah, we're just going to make sure the front, not the front, the inside and the backyard is just, going to be good for his video. And after he leaves, we'll be building 5 racks to finish out the house. I talk too much. Your turn. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Are you asleep?
About to be. Now, Aquarium Guy said, Grant, is there a Neocaridina morph that you think will be extra popular this year?
I do believe it's you that had some orange eye or clear eye Neocaridina. Like, if you can get those going, that'll be great. I do think that the shrimp that Chris posted, the multicolored ones, will make their way over to the United States. And those will probably be the big thing for this year. I've also seen some blues with backlines. That, I think, would be like the next hot shrimp. As soon as those are in big supply, they'll be hot Neocaridina shrimp to talk about. I'm fading. I'm dying. I'm sorry.
I honestly think just orange in general will be a popular, just because Chris did post that. He has a lot of following. So I think a lot of people will be buying oranges just to attempt that. And a lot of people trying to mix red cherries with them to try to achieve that. So I think that would be a popular swing this year. Easy V Rider said, will Mineral Junkie work for calcium? So Mineral Junkie is I had to go look. I'm not kidding. I had to go look because I love this stuff. They are 2 different. This does not specifically say it has calcium in it. So I would still supplement with calcium. You don't have to do it very often. But that one specifically says that it helps the holes in snail shells. So it probably does have some sort of calcium in it. But we have seen a huge improvement on using the calcium chips as well. But this is mainly what we use as Mineral Junkie. So I would just supplement for calcium.
I'd imagine the minerals in it, though, would be calcium. It doesn't say exactly, though.
Right. It says several different minerals. So they don't really tell you their recipe, but oh no. But since the chips aren't working right now, then so the website Mineral Junkie, you'll get away with it. It's definitely good for the shells. So, I mean, we were using this long before we even got the calcium chips and saw a huge improvement in our shrimp.
And there's a good amount of calcium in the shell envy as well, too.
Mm-hmm. How many breeding? Oh, I always forget about that. We feed that a lot to our rabbit snails. Rabbit snails eat a ton. Okay, they really, really like. I don't think people realize how much snails really do eat. That's why they're burrowed in the substrate a lot. You'll see ours out of the substrate because we feed quite a bit. So don't overfeed though. Ron P said, How many breeding cycles can a female Neocaridina have in its lifetime?
I'm going to say average. They live about 3 years. If you would say it takes like 6 months for them to start breeding out, I would probably put it 10 cycles a year, 25. 25 breeding cycles.
Jeff, I swear you're just like living with us and you just know. Are you like, did you like tap our car or something? Can you hear what we're talking about? Grant literally asked for one today.
I did. I did.
Legit asked
But
for
did
one today.
anybody even notice that I had a mustache in the beginning of the stream? And it's
That's
gone
probably
now.
Why he's saying something.
I know, but like, is he just saying something now? Because he's like, oh, yeah, he looks awfully Amish today.
Mhm.
But did anybody notice the mustache disappeared in the stream? I worked hard on this. I grew this mustache out for like 6 weeks and nobody said anything. I even asked Shelby, did anybody notice in the comments?
No.
It's
couldn't
horrible
even read
handwriting.
that.
I know. I should have been a doctor.
Yeah, don't even share that. That's not even a doctor's handwriting. Oh. I still gotta read, so.
I don't have anything
You know
else.
what I find funny is Nick is really, really awesome, but it is just so unfair. It doesn't matter who you are with an accent, you instantly get way more famous than regular people.
I thought you were going to say some like really crappy thing about him, and then I was like, he's coming to the house soon.
No.
Yeah, I get it.
I am so, like, I love seeing someone younger in that generation specifically because I've worked with many of them. They usually have no motivation. They have no goals in life, and they just kind of want to get by with doing the bare minimum, and then, like, are just kind of like, I'd rather be on my phone. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, I feel like I'm my mom right now. But it is just astronomically funny. Like, every person I know that has millions of followers, like, yes, they do some awesome stuff, don't get me wrong. But, like, if we had an accent, we would have grown our channel, like, 10 times faster. You cannot tell me that I'm wrong. It's not fair. And then Grant wants to ask him if his accent sounds as cool, like, over in Australia. Do Americans sound cool? Like, probably not. Maybe some, like, country accents would I think
Maybe
are the only ones that people,
ones,
yeah.
So they'll be like, oh, yeah, you know.
Like them real country Louisiana people.
Yeah.
Like real southern sweet Louisiana is like my favorite kind of country.
Appalachian accent.
No, I can't even understand that.
It's my favorite. Skipper can talk to me all day.
I just can't understand it. Cora said, what is in the Wecco Wonder Shell compared to a banquet block, and why do people recommend them for in their filter as opposed to feeding to the snails? I would absolutely never do. Like, I've been seeing this a lot, that people have been telling people to put like Cuttlebone in their tanks and like straight up in their filters. Like, I would never, absolutely never do that. I feel like that causes so much water pollution. It's not even funny. Like, I've had the Cuttlebones just in like isopods, and it like can cause issues. Like, I don't recommend any of that. We don't even like to use the blocks when we travel. We'll use them once in a while when they're free. But
I love them for the Neocaridina ponds outside because there's so many shrimp. But
Not
for like
tank.
a 10-gallon tank that only has a small colony, I would never.
Right.
For either of those.
So QJF says, doesn't adding calcium chips and mineral food raise the TDS a lot? No, if you have them eat it within a certain amount of time, it would not raise it.
Because they're using it and putting it into more shells, more,
yeah. And then
babies are also going to use it up and stuff like that too.
So this is like my favorite food, just because it is super soft, and you literally look how
soft but durable.
Look how tiny I could make that. So I literally sometimes feed like the smallest amounts, especially like we feed it to the shrimp. All invertebrates need calcium and minerals. This stuff smells so good too. It smells like celery to me. Celery and onions. It's so strange. That's what it smells like when I'm cooking like the homemade chicken noodle soup. But But if you put a lot of it, yes, it would cause issues. That's why I was saying earlier, like people recommending putting like calcium blocks in their tank. Like the only time I would ever do that would be for like we did it for crayfish at one point to help them molt. You would like dump like oyster shells in the tank, and it would help them molt and do better. But I would never do it for like a normal tank, and you'd have to do more water changes, I believe. It sucks that I did notice. I thought you sneezed.
Yes, that's what I was going for. I thought about that.
Gina said, I thought Grant looked an extra funny tonight. What's different? I'm just kidding. Lady
Zach
Diane.
made my night.
Poor Grant. Welcome in, Lady Diane.
I go through a lot of work with the beard sometimes. There's a whole video where I do the video backwards, so it makes it look like the beard grows during the video.
KJF says, because we were watching Shelby and listening to Grant, which is funny because I'm like literally like I'll look and just doze off into my tank sometimes and like remember that I have to do this, and I'm like, there's just no way I'm doing it tonight because it would be like 11 o'clock and I just don't want to do anything after the stream.
I didn't even have allergies. This is still a clean tissue. This is all a ruse. I got you all.
Oh, goodness gracious.
No, I got nothing. That was the whole live stream. The work I go. One ability that I have over you. I have to use it, right?
Shaving your mustache? Is that it?
Yeah, you can't do it. So, yeah. It's some of the tricks I got that you don't have.
Dee Dee said, but Southern accent people generally are seen as less intelligent. We'll let them keep thinking that. Yeah, I don't understand where that, I do understand where that comes from.
It's because they want to live the simple life, and there's nothing wrong with that. But
I have a lot of old farmers in my family, so like they definitely, a lot of them did not get schooling, and that is actually a interpretation because a lot of farmers did not have their kids go to school. They homeschooled because they had to work the farm every day. So a lot of those people were country accent people, and that's not even a Southern thing. That goes all the way north. So it's crazy. Benjamin said Nick has creative potential in breeding and marketing. I love watching him grow. Very, very potential. Not potential. Already great. I can't find the word that I'm thinking of, but Sin says no. People say we sound dumb. Stephen P said never too late to start faking an Asian accent. Could never. I can't even do accents. I am like 80% British according to my DNA test. And I try a British accent. Someone in my family can do it, but she's not even the British one. But I've tried, but ask him. It's literally me yelling in a British tone. I can't even begin to try accents for some reason.
I've got a great accent of any kind if I'm just doing it naturally. But if you tell me to just do that one, it'll be horrible. But I have my moments.
Benjamin
I think for a whole week, me and Dante talked with a Russian accent, and it was hard to get it away. It was hard.
Every single time you guys are together, you still say words sometimes, and I'm like, please stop. Benjamin said, but to keep it real, TGOE is still my go-to for real shrimp breeding info. Nobody does it better. Thank you.
I like to think nobody breeds more shrimp than us in an English accent.
Steve. Oh, goodness. Oh, that's gross, Stephen B. I cannot. Is there an Amish accent? Yes. Well, it depends on the region where the Amish are.
You don't know.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of German.
Yeah, some of them actually still speak German. We just watched it wasn't scary. What was that movie? It was like the Amish Witch or something. And it was it's supposed to be like a documentary into old lore of Amish people that were witches and it revolting against it. It was crazy, but they their dialect comes from Germany or something like that. It was, yeah. So some of them do have accents.
Mother be like Yoder, go away at the field.
Will calcium chips at KH or be dangerous for Caridina shrimp in any way? No, we feed ours to everything, and you just don't want huge calcium chips. I would say if you have, it really depends on how much shrimp you have. Like I would literally chop it up really small, but this is like the best Caridina.
Cuts like butter,
food. Yeah.
Stays together like cold butter. It's nice. It's good.
So I feed like the smallest amount because it does last forever. If you put like a whole piece in there. So I literally just like sliver it up, and
Shelly
it's
says
just
it melts
enough
in
for
your
them.
mouth too, just like butter. She actually says she can't believe it's not
No,
butter.
I can't. Stop, we're gonna get sued now. Oh goodness. Oh, Justin said my video is a little bit behind, but I figured everyone would be commenting about Grant shaving his mustache off. Tupflin Creek, thank you so much for member for 13 months at Shelby. Grant, good evening. Good evening to you as well.
How are you doing?
Dear Sensei going Amish had a buddy shaved half his head and the other half of his beard and mustache. What was that, an Amish beard and mustache convention that was in Daytona?
It was an Amish beard competition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it was crazy. There were so many crazy people.
I didn't see one though.
Oh, I saw. There was like at least 3 or 4 of them.
I didn't see a good one.
Yeah, they were okay. It's not like the ones you see on TV where they're like 6-foot long beards and they could
Part of
probably
me
sweep
hasn't
the floor with
shaved the beard since. I'm gonna enter next year at Aquashelle.
them. In Daytona, let's see if it lines up. Grant, what is the scientific word for the shrimp metabolism thermo? Something ectotherm?
Yeah, I believe ectothermic, endothermic. I can't remember. We talked about this, and yeah, it wasn't a solid answer that we got for what makes the shrimp live longer, because it's colder than the reverse. So
thank you so much, Vibes Aquatics, for the $1.99 super chat. Said, let's get thumbs popping, y'all. Love y'all. Thank you so much, Vibes.
all of the answers that were posted on that were all answers we already listed on the live stream. I never got that one answer that I was looking for.
What live stream was that?
I don't remember.
Henry said, can you comment on all the crazy naming for the orange Neo lines? I have SS Sunkiss, and I'm not sure which other lines I can mix in to help genes but keep strong orange colors.
All the orange are going to be the same Neocaridina shrimp, just renamed. The orange Sakura, the orange Sunkiss, the orange Pumpkin, they're all the same shrimp. If they're a Neocaridina, they're going to be the same. The problem is there is this orange bee or orange sun-kissed bee shrimp that is not a Neocaridina, and it's also not a normal Caridina. It's like a Caridina cagensis, or it's something different altogether. And it's a 2-stage shrimp where the babies need brackish and salt water to transform into their new stage and become a shrimp and go back up into the fresh water. So if it's Neocaridina, they're all the same.
Shelby, hello, governor. It's exactly how it is. Most of the time it's to my friends because they made fun of me when they did find out I was British, that I love sweet tea. And they're just like, you want your tea and crumpets? Every day. It was never. We're getting a history lesson in here by Coro. Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't think this live stream would be this dull this late into it. You gotta bring these up faster. We're losing.
Excuse you? This is your fault.
I ran out of stuff to talk. I don't have anything else. The good news, the insurance is taken care of. Everything else is covered.
Simply said, do we need to have a YouTube channel or big social to have any chance of success in selling shrimp? Setting up 10 tanks, and within 1 to 2 years, I assume I'll be able to start selling. No, it just depends on where you sell.
I will
How to
say
get your name out.
this. It helps a lot, but there's a ton of people that do not have a social media presence that sell shrimp. There's a lot of people that sell on Facebook. There's a lot of people that advertise on Google, sells on Aquabid, sells on eBay, Amazon, that have zero YouTube channel. And there's a lot of bigger breeders that have small channels that don't even utilize them really. So it's not needed. But I will say this: since we've started our YouTube channel, everything's gone up. All of our sales, all of our attention, and it just made things a lot easier. If you are asked the same question 5 times a week, and every single time you answer that question, it comes with a follow-up question, and that follow-up question comes with a follow-up question, and so on, you eventually just make a video to cover the entire topic, and then it's much easier to share the link to that video than it is to help all 5 of those people out. So it became a problem where there's just too much of my time and effort explaining things to where a video is obviously the best answer, and it promotes the business at the same time. So the first year that we did YouTube, our sales on the website increased by 400%. So it wasn't just a coincidence. It for sure, like 50% of that had to have been YouTube.
Yeah, but you don't need to have it. I mean, realistically, there's a lot of people that still sell shrimp that don't have YouTubes. They just have good knowledge about them. Scotty the Fish Freak said, if I don't like Culling, should I get yellow or orange Neo?
Why do you keep bringing it up?
Scotty. All right. So who's in the group chat? Who's in the group? They just made a group chat. They're like, all right, every 15 minutes. Or maybe he really wasn't here. So yellow.
Yellow.
Squid reproduction? No.
Oh, I do have some good news that some of you might like to hear.
No. EZV Rider, thank you so much for member for 10 months. A 10-month TGOE gang member. Shrimpin'. Love it. Thank you. All right. What were you going to say?
We have.
All right. No, wait. I'm just kidding.
I don't remember this. We have 3 buried super tigers now. After a lot of people have been asking us about them, we decided to start feeding them every single day. And sure enough, they're like, all right, I get it. If I'm going to be fat, I might as well be carrying babies. And they have now 3 of them that are walking around with eggs in them. So hopefully we can start spitting those out, and I won't ruin them this time with crossbreeding. I'll probably sell a group to someone lucky enough that has a good cycle tank, one of our trusted customers, and get those out before we split them off into a separate tank. So.
Oh, he brought up a term. I just took it down. I'm not going to find that again.
Is that English?
No.
I didn't understand a word you just said right there. Oh,
really?
Man. Yeah, I can't hear or read your lips. So what'd you say?
I had the term up for what we were discussing earlier.
Okay.
Northern Tide. The Black Rose line is a form of different line than cherry reds, right? If a Black Rose throws a nice red coal, is it a bad idea to add a red cherry or a cherry colony, right?
Yeah, don't add it to your red cherry colony. That the reds out of the Black Rose are actually Bloody Marys. So you could start a whole new aquarium and make Bloody Marys from scratch if you wanted to.
QJF Aquatics said, orange eye, blue dream shrimp. I don't see any stripes on it and does look like a blue dream. Is there such a thing?
There really isn't. Jay did, send me some, or not send me some photos, but posted an Instagram the other day where they were like clear, not orange eye, but like couldn't see any pupils. So I want to say he's got something he can work with. Whether or not that mutation can be passed down, maybe they're just that color because Jay's gassing them with CO2. I don't know. It's still a thing yet to be made. But if you have some, send me the picture, because I've seen a lot of people and they've been sending me photos where the eye color is orange or white or something, but it still has a black pupil. So you want to make sure that the entire eye is, a new color, not just the eye around the pupil.
After I said, would botanicals be considered vacation feeding?
You could use Indian almond leaves or something like that, yeah, but I'd much prefer using some Shrimp Envy Food Fight that is complete with some barley and snowflake built in, or just some snowflake is my go-to.
And there is the term. Thank you so much again, Andy. So I didn't have to re-go in there. That is the one I had brought up too. There's a lot of different names for that specifically, but the invertebrates seem to have a different name for it than fish do, and that was the term that I thought that we brought up. Welcome in, Mark. And we're caught up in chat. 15 minutes to go, and we're not interested enough to keep going.
Oh man. Well, if anybody has any questions, let us know. Besides that, we don't really have anything else going on. A lot of making sure that the house looks nice for Nick and getting ready for the Florida State Fair. We did put together a fry rack that we got from Richard Reynolds. Made room in the garage for that. Did clear off 2 shelves. Shelby painted all of the plywood that goes down on the stand so we could put up more tanks in the garage. Not really trying to throw up more tanks in the garage just yet until we build the stands in Shelby's fish room.
Yeah. And Richard, I did see your question earlier. Completely forgot to answer it. We did build the fry rack. We do have to fix it because I realized I put it on backwards. So we figured out the piping. And then it should be ready to go. We had a 40-gallon, which was crazy. We were moving all the tanks in the garage, and Grant goes, I didn't even know we had a 40-gallon down here. So it fit perfectly under that. I don't know when it'd be so nice if it fit right there. It'd be so nice. When it will actually be up and operating though, but it is up. So I've been having eggs around the house, but I've recently found out killifish have like the smallest eggs ever that I literally cannot find ever. And I keep having babies just randomly 1 or 2 pop out of tanks because I cannot find the eggs. It is awful. But Lady Diane said, when is your next event?
So our next event is the Florida State Fair thing that we got going on. But that's not like an event. We do have Acclimation that is in the middle of May, I think. And that is in North Carolina. It's a 1-day show. And then it's like 10 days a show for us because we have that runs into Global, and then after that is Aquafest in Louisiana.
Yeah. So the month of, what is next month?
Next month's February, but after that's May. March. Oh, May.
No.
What is going on? It's March.
Derpson, did Nick send bulk bug bites? No, we only had that 1 bag, which is awesome. I've been feeding the fish already. I enjoy it. I think they're reworking it. It's still like a new product, so I think he's still reworking it, and then we'll send into the States when they can.
When Nick's here, we'll talk about it more because there's enough of you that have contacted me about the food that we'll probably try and get it through Nick to sell on the website. He has mentioned that shipping is extremely expensive, so trying to figure out those costs to get that down to make it more affordable for all of you.
Sibley said, will you be holding onto certain shrimp now that you have insurance? Congrats, by the way. Thank you.
I mean, it wasn't that we're holding on to certain shrimp. It was just that we weren't going to let go of some of the shrimp, or we were going to let go of some shrimp that we wouldn't have just to thin out tanks for the move. So we're definitely not going to be offering up some of those. But I do believe you're like referring to like the Aurora Blues and stuff. We have them breeding in 2 aquariums now. So like when you were ready, I still might have had those available regardless.
Yeah. Heather said, is Neo's okay down to 65 degrees?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we do have a video on that on cold. What was that video called? Outdoor Neotubs Cold Winter? I don't know. It's got a thermometer on it. I can't even remember the name of it right now.
Winter breeding, I think it might actually be.
No, that's winter shipping.
Oh.
Oh goodness gracious! How do we forget things like this? But it's a whole video on how cold our tubs get outside and how hot they get. So I know it's here somewhere. It's right here. We do have a winter breeding one. Maybe that's it. And I changed the thumbnail. So it's probably the winter breeding one. It's gonna throw me off because I think I changed the thumbnail to it. QJF says, do you know about the blue dwarf crayfish, the ones that stay smaller than the CPO dwarf orange crays?
Yeah, they can look kind of brown or blackish unless you keep them in like lower pH. Also, Chris Lukop told us that the key to getting them nice and blue was feeding them carrots. Never actually got to try that out. We got some, what were they, leaf grommies off of somebody, and chocolate grommies, and it totally wiped out our aquarium. We lost a lot of things, and we thought that they were well quarantined and stuff like that.
That still hurts my
That
heart.
was the last time we ever trusted something and put it in with stock we already have. Now everything gets their own new tank and set up from scratch.
Jeff Kane said, excellent stream tonight, Shelby, and baby beer. Thank you so much. So Heather Green says, I can't keep our aquariums over 65 to 68 without heaters. See, we really don't recommend heaters. They'll still breed. They just don't breed as fast. But heaters can become such an issue. They really do fail all the time. Or they cook your shrimp, which is also terrible, which we see a lot more than it should ever happen. Henry said, y'all coming back to Chicago anytime soon. We do have Aquashella Chicago this year.
I'll pull up the date.
So we will be in Chicago at that time. I love Chicago. So excited. I was so upset when we didn't get to go last year. Dee Dee said, are you going to AGA in March in North Carolina? That is the one show we are most likely skipping because it's at the same time as us. Yep, we are skipping it. Sorry. It is at the same time we are going to be in
Connecticut for the NEC conference.
So.
So we'll be in Chicago on the 3rd and 4th.
Ooh, I like they changed that. Looks nice.
And yeah.
3rd and 4th of what?
Of August. I'm sorry.
August. No, you did say it. I think I just blanked out.
I don't think I said it.
Okay. August 3rd and 4th. Sorry.
But yeah, Dee Dee, AGA took way too long to announce their dates. And the NEC Council approached us at Keystone Clash maybe and asked if we would come up and do a talk. So both me and Shelby will be speaking at that event during the same weekend as AGA. So we will not be able to make it. It's sad because it's every 2 years. But like our first one kind of left a bad taste in our mouth. There wasn't really a lot of like people there. I would take like a quarter of the Keystone Clash over going to the AGA. So
yeah, it wasn't. It was poor timing when they planned it the year that we went. So I think that's a lot to do with it. But you know, it just happened to be at the same exact time we already booked another event. So it's not something we're gonna turn back on. Once we said yes to something, there's no reason to go back. Jefferson says, when you start loading up for the state fair, I could help.
Yeah,
No,
I
thank
don't
you.
even know when we're gonna be getting there.
Yeah.
Shelby has inventory on
Love it.
Saturday, so instead of 3 days of setup, we only have 2 days. So I don't think we're gonna get there until Sunday, unless they're open a little bit later on Saturday. But Shelby's still gonna be working late on Saturday, so
Yeah, it's not.
I might
till
go with
10.
the kids.
Yeah, you can go with the
Okay.
kids and set up their tanks because there's just no way we can get our tanks set up in the day that we can.
Let alone traveling. Like your dad might have to help us on Monday, pick the kids up from school.
Yeah, are we able to set up Monday still?
Yeah, it's Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Yeah, we might need some help. Yeah, it's always like a frazzle because we forget how many tanks we entered and then we don't get them ready till like the week before. I might even enter my one tank on the counter because I'm so stressed out right now. But yeah, it'd be awesome. Lady Diane says, all south, I miss you, come soon. Yeah, hopefully we can. Do we have anything planned up that way?
Nothing close to Missouri until Chicago. Chicago's close enough.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how far out of our way Missouri would be on our trip up to Chicago. I don't think it's that far, though.
Yeah. Sibley said, off shrimp, I was thinking of setting up a goldfish pond outside. I have to move indoors in winter, Minnesota. Maybe long-term add a turtle. Any pointers and advice? Certain turtles to look into.
So it's outside. You just need to make sure that there's enough aeration and stuff like that to keep the ice from freezing over and stopping the oxygen depletion. If it's completely covered with ice, there isn't going to be any oxygen exchange. So having a good filter pump that isn't going to freeze over and create enough surface irritation that it doesn't always freeze the ice all the way through. And then turtle-wise, there's plenty of native turtles that'll be able to handle those situations.
There's a scaping contest at the NEC?
Yeah, he just messaged me that today. We've just been super busy, and you were sleeping when I got that message. So
just sign me up. Like, so participating or judging. Obviously participating. I have to have that. I've got to do at least every single one. I'm not world renowned enough to judge. It would be awesome, but no. still technically like a beginner. NEC sense, I have no idea. Do you know what NEC?
Northeastern Conference?
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yeah, Northeast Council of Aquarium Societies.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty much like a Keystone Clash without the Scotty love and presentation and Fish Fam vibes.
Scotty's going to be there, though, right? I'm pretty sure.
But he's not running it, so there's not the whole like fish tube scene and whatnot. So we definitely love those shows a little bit more, but this one is a little bit further than we'd probably travel unless they asked us to go speak for it. So a little bit of bonus.
Living Dream Aquatics says, I know it's been a bit since I've heard what is Shelby's favorite shrimp now. I would ask you, Grant, but I know all the green ones are yours.
Oh, no. I know the right answer. Shelby's favorite shrimp are the Hummels.
No.
She won't admit it, but she'll say raccoons.
Well, actually, currently, they're the cheetahs. But that's only because there's different color forms coming out of the specific tank of cheetahs. So it's really interesting to me. Like, it literally has got, like, the color of the rainbow in there. There's reds, there's orange, there's yellows. And then, of course, the dots have, like, greens and purples in them. So, like, they're really cool.
You could lie to me. You could lie to all these people.
I literally never look at the Hummels. I don't understand why you go on about this. It's driving me crazy.
The purplest shrimp. They are.
I mean, they're semi-purple, and they are really cool. Don't get me wrong. They are on the top of the list of ones I like. But I switch my favorite shrimp all the time because some of them interest me more for a little bit. And then if anyone else is like me, where you just lose interest really fast, it's so nice to have multiple tanks of shrimp, because then I get really interested in some of them sometimes, and I just show them extra attention and kind of like watch them a little bit more. And then I'll go back to my other ones. Like the other day, I was just staring at my raccoons for like an hour. Mainly the raccoons.
If we took a lie detector test, it would show. You would know.
Stephen P. Oh my God, a beginner. Yeah. Stephen P. Beginner. I guess like in terms of like, so I was even having this conversation at the Tampa Bay Club that live aquascaping is all fun and enjoyable, but like in the aquascaping world, I literally do not matter. I literally do not, like, no one would ever go like, yeah, she's a great aquascaper. It's just like there's like a couple scapes I've done that are cool, but as far as like being on point, having the right technique, style to be able to do competitions online, it's one of those things. Like, I don't think I would even come close to the top 1,000 in the United States for like the ILAPC, which would be an absolutely dream. But like to me, like Grant would be in the top 1,000. I would be in the bottoms. So
I think all of Malaysia is better than me.
It's really hard, honestly. It's one of those things, like, in terms of people see me winning contests, yes, I have like some sort, and I don't take away from that, and I like so appreciative that some people really do like my aquascaping, but like there's a lot of people that would never respect my aquascaping. They just look at it like, wow, you won, like you're trash.
You beat me last year at the Florida State Fair, so we'll see if I can get my redemption this year. I don't have high hopes, but
You'll win.
Steven, when it comes to aquascaping, you're not a fetus. You're a bucket thief. You know what you did. Try to take my bucket.
Oh my gosh. You can lie to yourself. Sibley said, would you recommend a heater? Never. Okay, I'm sorry. If I'm leaving something outside in Minnesota, we just had a stretch where it was a high of 5 for a week straight, dropping below 0 at night. Yes. Some sort of heat would definitely help that.
And Stephen P. is not a thief. He just tried to take my bucket after I had already just washed all of my dragon stone. And then he wants my bucket. I'm like, no, you can't have my bucket, man. Get your own bucket. It took me like a good 30 minutes out of our timed aquascape to go get that bucket.
Jeff said, Shelby, I'm going to be wanting some of those cheetahs. Yes. They are really cool. And it's just like that one tank in particular is throwing colors. The other ones kind of have like blue-purple hues to them. These ones are throwing different colors. So like I'm hoping that it would be like we get a whole bunch of them and we can put them on the website and just be like, what is it? Life's like a box. We should just advertise that life's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And they'll just send out cheetahs with different colors. So
I don't know if we legally can.
What?
I don't know if we legally can use that saying. It might be copyrighted.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. That's what I was like, what are you talking about? Benjamin said, so Shelby is going to sell all her fish bones. No, I sell all the coals. Like, I have several tanks of coals, and we have, like, one really nice tank and then one project tank right now. So, you know, I do sell quite a bit of them, but mostly Grant sells them for me because I don't like to let go of any of them, honestly. Like, I think they're all beautiful in their own little way, whether they have multiple dots on their head or are the deep dark reds, you know, like, or the light red. I like them all.
And they are available on the website right now. Not the high grade ones, but the low grade ones.
So we do want to compete in the IAPLC. I am probably going to try to enter the Biotope competition this year because it is a little bit easier because there's not as much competition in that, like where there's thousands in the other one, there's like hundreds in the other one. No, I think there's still thousands. No, it's got to be a little less, but I would enjoy doing that, and it's just something fun for me. So, and it gets me like that foot in the door. But as far as like a competition tank, we do have the rack and the tanks ready. Like me and Grant want to work on one specifically together. and then one's going to be my biotope, and then we're going to do each one a separate one, and then do compete with them. But it is really complicated. We still need to work with CO2 and getting some of that ready, whether we do that or not. Probably not this year, but
I would say
I think
year,
it's a big next year possibility.
This year is let's finish the house, and then next year, if I can set up like a little escape studio in the garage, because the problem is with the IAPLC is you can't share that content with anybody. So having people come do tours of the house and stuff, it's not good for that. Everybody would have to blur it, and I don't know.
Yeah,
It's a lot of work to compete like that, and I'd much rather just go, hey, everybody gets 13 hours to escape this tank, go for it. I like the Florida State Fair competition because it's not just people setting them up at the fair, it's people bringing them home. So we can build a couple things here and then walk them to the state fair and not have to worry about it. But I prefer just everybody gets the same materials and goes at it in the same amount of time frame with the same escape
It's
template and tank. And
that is so much fun.
yeah, but
It's very stressful. Like I legit cry at like every single one of them. So I'm a big old sensitive baby if you don't know me. But Steven said, bucket.
and every time I think I want to escape something for that, it's already something that's like kind of been done. And I haven't had that unique idea that I want to go and conquer and
Right.
do something that.
Some of them are so like last year's winner is so innovative and I love it so much. But like as far as me thinking about one, I haven't come up with something that I want to recreate in a tank of
Which
that
one
magnitude.
was last year's winner?
Is the circular.
Oh, that was the year before.
Oh, it wasn't?
Yeah, it was.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, because that same guy is one of my favorite aquascapers, and the one that he did last year for his brutal scape was the slate that was stacked, and in the middle it's got the little zigzag going through it, and he didn't place on the top. And I thought it was one of the better. Like it would have been crazy for him to win back-to-back years, and I thought it was deserved. So, but yeah, that was the winner for 2 years ago.
It's not showing the 2022 or 23. It's weird.
But it would show 2022, and that would be it.
Which isn't the one you're thinking of.
That's 2021.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't have 2022 on.
Yeah, that's weird.
Right. Maybe I'm on the wrong page. I'll figure it out. Living Dream Aquatic says this might be a question best left unanswered. Who is the U.S. Would you say is the best aquascaper?
In the United States, I like Kevin Kelly. Personally, he isn't like, oh, I'm just going to do a natural style or do something like this. He's all over the place on trying to change things up. And in a way, he's really a big reason why I even aquascape myself. I was bored out of my mind the first time we went to Chicago, and I didn't have a booth. I didn't have any responsibilities. It was before the show started. I didn't want to go out and do anything in that area. And I watched Kevin before I even knew who he was. And he put together a piece where it peaked and had a point that curved, and it was like a wave of dragonstone. And the fact that he was from Brooklyn, he was an artist, he was getting paid to do that. I was like, dang, this isn't something that I think I want to do as a living, but like to do this at the shows rather than be bored was the whole point I got into aquascaping, just so I could do something before the show starts behind the scenes. That was before we set up the shrimp contest for Aquashella and stuff like that too. So we have added on a lot more to our plate. We're no longer bored at any of the shows, I can say that. But aquascaping is kind of like the most fun we have at the shows besides hanging out with all the people. So But you see, it was definitely the year before, and you saw his
Yeah.
tank this year.
Yeah.
It was definitely one of the.
Wait, which one's this year? That's the year before that. It's 2021 to 2022.
Yeah, hold on. I'll show you his tank. That's his tank from this year's.
Ah.
The bottom one.
Yeah. Okay. That was him. That
Yeah,
did it?
I'll share it to you guys with a slate with a zigzag in the middle. The description
Awesome.
there was on point.
I don't have typically someone that is like my favorite. I like them all in their own category. I think I respect people's art a lot more than general. Like I wouldn't just go towards one scape and say like this is the epitome of aquascaping. My thing is obviously I'm the one who likes to color outside the lines sometimes and do things differently than the guidelines. And I enjoy the different stuff. Like this year, I'm entering a different category in the Florida State Fair, which is the novelty section, which I enjoy. I think it's so fun and exciting, and that's why I like the Aquarium Beautiful contest, because you get all the different categories and get to enjoy every aspect. Because aquascaping to me is not, and a lot of people think this way in the aquascaping community too, is not by the book, or you want to do one style, you can do it that way. But I would say there's someone for each category that I pretend to like. So I don't have like they're the best, they're better than that one, because like there's not comparing. Because like if someone does like novelty scapes on TikTok, like I enjoy watching that all day, but I also like biotopes. Like I find that really encourages people to understand where they're coming from and to treat their water better. So like that blows me away more than just like some piece of work that someone did and spent hours on, which is also awesome. But like I wouldn't compare the two. I could not pick someone. I would say each one has their own unique ability, and it's nice to see each person do their own art. It's like choosing your favorite artist of painting.
I can say Kevin Kelly, and nobody can really give me flack for that because he got me started in it. Jeff Mioki is another great one. I've learned a lot from him.
Which he did a novelty tank at the last Aquachella, and that thing was dope as could be. And it ruffles some feathers, and it's just something that gets people like, what is that? Like there's people that do fairy gardens and different things like that. So that pulls interest from a different like hobby that is so closely related to gardening and fish tanks that people don't seem to understand the like so close together.
And then Corey Hopkins is another good one from Aquarium Group Design, as well as Austin Kwan. Austin's, I don't know how old Austin is, but like I feel like he's our age. No, he's younger than us, and he's got more caliber, I think, than we do. Every time he's gone to one of the shows, except for the time we beat him in Dallas, I thought he was the biggest and scariest competition out of any of the other contests. So even though he didn't win the last one, I think his tank was pretty much the best.
I really liked it. It really created depth, and it was super neat. Steve, that hurt my feelings, though.
I can't vote for our own tank.
That hurt my feelings. Oh, goodness. Steve, see what I tell you? I'm a beginner. Even he doesn't appreciate my work.
It was
Stephen
our tank.
P. said he would have
talk about our tank.
100%.
Even though 99% of it was Shelby's, but
he would have 100% stolen it if he knew he could get away with it. Simply said, is Chicago the closest you're going to be to Minnesota? It would be awesome to meet you both. Otherwise, what big city in Florida are you near? So if my wife ever wants to visit Florida, we'll just have to visit that city.
So, yeah, I think Chicago will be the closest one to Minnesota. And then big cities in Florida, we're an hour away from Tampa, an hour and a half away from Orlando. So
yeah,
we're not close to anything.
Yes, that is really, really nice Slatescape. It was like the fact that they could achieve that is still amazing. Like I just stare at it.
And then
all
you
the time.
don't think that that's like a natural occurrence in the wild, and then he posts the pictures of
yeah.
where he like not copied, but mimicked it from, and it's incredible. So I think he executed it right, and if the judges didn't know that, I think that's why they got the points off for it. Because I've got some crazy scape ideas, and people might think like, oh, you're mimicking a mountain and trying to make a diorama, and I'm like, no, this is the bank on the side of a creek or something like that, where the natural habitat you would be looking at. We spend a lot of time snorkeling rivers or collecting, and a lot of these little tiny niche little pieces of the slope and scape is like what we'd want to just cut out and put into our aquariums most of the time. So it has both ways, where they look like mini mountains, but it still could be a bank or a creek, low tide creek coming in instead of a mountain valley.
Welcome in Scuba, and thank you so much, Dee Dee, for all the links you're posting. Stephen P said, learn the rules and then break them. Sometimes you have to. Like, it's crazy. Have a good night, Mark.
We went from dying 30 minutes ago to now we got too much.
Yeah, it says, rock on, shall we do what feels good? That's what I do. That's what I try to say. Like, anytime I'm doing it, like, it just might be a little bit off, but I enjoy it. Like, I did one where it was like a super centered scape, and I was like, I don't care if anyone likes this. If no one's going to like it, I like it. I was picturing a road, and like we have here, and just having the trees like go right over it. And of course it didn't win, but I enjoyed that scape for the longest time ever, and it was just so adorable. Scotty said, my favorite scaper I've seen is Shelby, and didn't get People's Choice as well. And didn't she get People's Choice as well at the Clash? I don't think you did a People's Choice this year, did you? I don't know if there was
she got first place at the Clash.
Yeah. Thank you.
Kenny's coming for you next year, though.
I know. He was coming hard at me this year. I was like, all right, you need to chill over there. I was getting so stressed out. But we are finally caught up in chat, so we're going to head off to bed. And thank you all for joining us, and all the people that donated during the live stream, and everyone that shared links. Thank you. Appreciate it so much.
Have a good night. Later, everyone.